We have organized the workshop on match fixing and illegal betting in Milano with the help of La Gazzetta dello Sport and the European lotteries because we think that it is important to focus on this matter that is the big danger for our sport, because the illegal betting and the corruption that we have discovered in many countries is something that can destroy the future of generation of young sportsmen and also of officials.
It's a huge problem and really more and more huge. Today people try to compare doping and match fixing. Of course, match fixing is much more dangerous than doping today. Why? There are many explanations. First, main important is that crime loves the sport and crime loves the gambling and especially the betting. That means that with the internet a lot of things have changed for the last years. What has changed? Of course the internet changed everything in betting, because today you have new risks related to new kinds of betting, and that means that everything has changed in the different countries for the sports organizations.
Does this mean that sport is always chasing and trying to keep up?
Sport is chasing, but it's difficult because organized crime is very well organized and sport tries to do what it can. There are best practices, for example, UEFA does a lot, Sport Accord tries to do a lot, but they don't succeed at the moment.
Do you think there is something that sport is missing that it needs to do to get its act together, to at least try to defend itself better?
At the moment we identified 3 key points to really go further in that fight against match fixing. The first is education, because more and more sports people have crossed the red line with organized crime and it's very difficult, it's impossible to come back. So education and information to tell them the dangers about match fixing is very important. The second thing is an international cooperation with the police, a kind of sports police that has been necessary today. And the second thing is a better regulation, especially a better regulation for betting.
Do you think enough countries and governments understand the danger to society that match fixing, illegal betting is portrays to them?
Today it's better. 3 years ago it was the beginning of the fight against match fixing. That means that a lot of countries didn't know exactly what the problem was and there wasn't a priority. Today it is, I think, and the most important step could be an international convention done by the Council of Europe, and that could go wider in the world.
That sports, and particularly sports betting, is dangerous for the society. And there is a real need to develop a coordination between all the countries to fight against the risks.
Do you think that in the past and in history, sport has been almost too friendly to the betting industry?
I wouldn't say this. I would say, in fact, sports betting and sports have always spent the same time. I've always lived together. And sports betting is linked to sports. The problem is how to be sure that all the bets proposed for the match are good or not, in fact. We need transparency. The society needs transparency. We need a kind of governance, it's my opinion, to be sure that what we propose to the public, to the people who like very much sports like me, in fact, have the possibility to bet with a clear assurance that there is no risks in these terms.
Does the betting industry do enough to help sport protect its own credibility?
Frankly speaking, they could do better. It's an eternal problem of the fight between the policeman and the robber. We are facing trans-criminal organizations which are very professional, They use technical and modern possibilities to communicate, to develop their organization worldwide. And once again, we need a real coordination, a big coordination between all the countries, between the police, by Interpol, by different administration, to share first the information, which is very important. And that's the reason why we are here with AIPS, to share information, to make a kind of sensibilization about the problem, and with this information to try to fight against the corruptors. And we need more than this to educate the sports world.
Do you think that there should be a WADA type organisation to fight sports corruption worldwide?
You know, of course there is a problem of policy because each government would like to be independent. But my opinion, I'm only a technician, you know, I'm not a politician, but I would propose to develop a unified organization to maintain integrity in sports, to maintain the dreams for the young people.
I think it's in its basic sustainability, and I think the integrity of sport has suffered on the front of manipulation of sports results in sport, and that's one, I'd say, ailment that sport is now feeling, and we need to tackle it very effectively, much more effectively than we have in the past.
How much money is actually laundered in sports criminality during a year?
We have no figure. We need to study that, and of course, you know, these are black market, gray market figures, extremely hard to evaluate. We know of the cases that have come to court, the cases that are under investigation for manipulation, where money laundering is an element of the crime. But to give you a global figure, we are unable to do that right now, unfortunately.
Which sport is at the greatest danger of criminality?
I think the sports that are the most popular and the most offered on the internet as a fixture on the thousands and thousands of illegal websites that offer such betting. So those sports are the ones that are being targeted by criminal groups to launder money, to manipulate the outcome of games for their own benefit. So those are the ones that are most at risk, which means that it's not only football; it's many other sports.
In Europe, certainly, a lot of the focus on match fixing has been, blown up, publicised about football, and people talk about Europe, talk about Southeast Asia. But what's the situation with the United States, with the enormous sports market there?
Well, the United States is in a similar situation as the great nation of China. They have decided to not go the internet route with their sports betting, and also they have limited the legality of such an operation to, well, in effect, only a few sites in the United States. So the legal market there is still in its infancy. And therefore, it has opened the door for a black market, an illegal market of people betting outside of the legal realms of what lotteries or operators in Las Vegas can offer through their sports books. So in that regard, the situation is not perhaps optimal, at least in a European's eyes, where we have a vast legalized market where people can safely place their bets. So the situation from a European point of view is one of a market still at the beginning of its development.
Do you think that all the various authorities who control or try to control the internet could do more?
Well, you see, it depends how you define control. The Americans, as the Chinese, have decided to take a very strict stance on internet betting, and by banning it completely. The Americans had a similar policy to alcohol about 80 years ago, and we know what that brought. I think that we need to find legal, safe, responsible, sustainable channels for a healthy betting market in any country, in order for it to be sustainable and to cause the least possible damage to the population. I think the Americans have not struck that balance yet.